A former US president facing 100 years in federal prison. That is Donald Trump's reality tonight as new details of his indictment are revealed. Mr. Trump is accused of 37 felonies over his handling of classified documents, allegedly hiding the nation's top secrets throughout his sprawling Florida estate.
Stashed in boxes in the confines of Mar-a-Lago, America's top military secrets piled up in a ballroom and a bathroom. Strewn on the floor, documents only meant to be viewed by the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, which includes Australia.
Mar-a-Lago is not a residence. He does stay there. It is a club. There are people in and out of there.
It's absolutely a spy's dream.
Donald Trump's 49-page indictment unsealed, revealing the scope of his alleged crimes, including 31 counts of willfully retaining national defence information regarding US nuclear programs and potential vulnerabilities, weaknesses of America and its allies, and could amount to a punishment of 100 years in prison.
Hey everyone, Adam here. Welcome. So what just happened? Trump was physically dragged out of a federal courtroom by U.S. marshals on live television. He was screaming at the bench, ignoring warnings about life imprisonment, and defying direct judicial commands until the judge ran out of patience and the marshals moved in. The President of the United States was forcibly removed from a courtroom while the entire country watched.
Former President Donald Trump stormed out during closing arguments of E. Jean Carroll's team this morning, and that followed a clash between Judge Kaplan and his lead counsel, Alina Habba, where an expletive was spoken in court. Let me give you the rundown. Proceedings usually begin at 9:30 in the morning each day. Today, E. Jean Carroll was front row, seated at the desk, perked. When the judge came into the room, he said, "Let the record show defense is not present." None of the defense team was at their tables. We then saw one of the team walk out. Then Ms. Habba entered the room with Donald Trump following her. And the judge said to Ms. Habba, it's 20 minutes to 10. There was a back and forth there where he basically admonished her for being late. And then when each side was trying to enter the evidence they would show for closing arguments, there was a dispute. The judge effectively ruled against Team Trump, at which point the judge said, quote, "Ms. Habba, you are on the verge of spending some time in the locker. Now sit down."
Let me restate this so the full magnitude of what just transpired penetrates completely. A sitting American president was ejected from a federal courtroom through physical force applied by marshals on live television. Countless citizens across the nation and around the globe witnessed this unfold in real time. This is not something that occurs in the normal course of American political life. This is not a precedent anyone ever imagined they would observe.
And I never thought anything like this could happen in America. Never thought it could happen.
Donald Trump has officially been charged with 34 felonies and faces more than 100 years behind bars if convicted of all of them. He is the first former president ever to be charged with a crime, but Trump maintains his innocence. Now, he is accused of improperly accounting for hush money payments made to a number of people, including former porn star Stormy Daniels. The charges relate to alleged hush money payments made on his behalf to two women leading up to the 2016 presidential election. And those type of payments are not illegal in themselves, but prosecutors accuse Trump of falsifying business documents to cover up the payments and prevent any potential damage to his campaign ahead of the election. Trump faces other investigations as well, including his handling of classified documents.
We have literally never experienced a scenario where a sitting president required physical removal from a courtroom for refusing to obey judicial orders. Never. Not once in the entire span of American constitutional history. And this entire sequence unfolded in the late afternoon hours at a federal courthouse. Judge Emmet Sullivan was presiding over the emergency contempt hearing concerning the Epstein witness tampering allegations. You will recall from previous developments that a witness had completely broken down and screamed that Trump personally ordered the systematic tampering with witnesses.
And breaking news involving a woman who claims Donald Trump raped her when she was 13.
KCAL 9's Peter Dowd is live in Woodland Hills now, where the woman was set to go public less than an hour ago. Peter.
Yeah, Lena and Juan, definitely some confusion here since that woman who was accusing Trump of raping her when she was a child decided not to appear. Instead, her attorney came out and said that the woman was too afraid to speak. Media from all over the world came out to hear what that woman had to say. Now, this was a planned news conference, but it didn't happen. The woman had filed a lawsuit alleging Trump sexually assaulted her at several different parties in 1994 when she was only 13 years old. Attorney Lisa Bloom said the woman, who has gone by the pseudonym Jane Doe, had received numerous terrible threats and gave a short statement.
The judge had explicitly threatened the prospect of life imprisonment. Trump had fallen into complete silence for hours. Absolute radio silence. No statements, no social media activity, nothing. But then something fundamentally shifted within him. Then Trump concluded that silence was the incorrect strategic choice. Then Trump resolved to fight back directly. Then Trump made the catastrophic decision to appear in that courtroom and confront the judge personally. And it proved to be the most devastating miscalculation of his entire existence. Trump appears on the video feed from the White House, and he observes the proceedings unfolding. He listens to the testimony. He hears the evidence being presented methodically by prosecutors. And at some point during this entire ordeal, after hours of enforced silence, something inside him simply fractures. He begins yelling. He starts screaming directly at the judge. He characterizes the proceedings as an illegal coup. He insists the judge possesses no legitimate authority to conduct this hearing. He declares the entire matter a witch hunt. He deploys all the familiar rhetoric, but he refuses to stop deploying it. He continues yelling. He continues interrupting the orderly progression of the proceedings. And Judge Sullivan issues a direct order commanding Trump to cease speaking and permit the hearing to continue. But Trump does not listen. Trump keeps yelling. Trump keeps screaming. Trump repeats the phrase illegal coup 7 distinct times, 7 separate iterations. He simply screams it repeatedly into the void. Illegal coup, illegal coup, illegal coup, illegal coup, illegal coup, illegal coup, illegal coup. The entire courtroom descends into stunned silence because nobody can process what they are witnessing. This is the President of the United States experiencing a complete psychological disintegration in a federal courtroom. This is a president refusing to comply with a direct order issued by a federal judge. This is the president breaking down in full view of everyone present. And then Judge Sullivan utters the words that will echo through history. Remove the defendant. He is a clear and present danger. That is what the judge declares. Remove the defendant. He is a clear and present danger. And the marshals begin moving. They commence their approach toward Trump on the video screen. Trump observes them advancing. Trump comprehends what is about to transpire, and Trump attempts to exit on his own terms, but he cannot move with sufficient speed. The marshals reach him. They take hold of him, and they physically remove him from the room. All of this unfolds on live television. All of this is broadcast to millions of people across the planet. Citizens watch the president being dragged from a federal courtroom by federal marshals. Citizens watch him scream and resist as he is extracted. Citizens watch constitutional history being manufactured in real time. This represents the category of moment that fundamentally transforms everything. This represents the category of moment that historians will analyze for centuries. And the situation does not conclude there, because while Trump is being physically dragged from that courtroom, Congress is actively voting. The House of Representatives is voting on advancing the 25th Amendment invocation. 288 representatives cast votes to advance the removal process. 288. That constitutes more than sufficient numbers. That represents a supermajority. That provides enough support to formally declare the president unfit for office. And all of this is occurring simultaneously. The ejection from the courtroom and the House vote are happening at the exact same moment. It resembles the entire government moving in synchronized chaos. Meanwhile, J.D. Vance is huddled with Republican leadership. The cabinet is being urgently convened. Individuals are being informed that they must vote tonight. They must vote immediately on whether to remove Trump from office through the 25th Amendment mechanism. All of this is transpiring in real time. All of this is chaotic and messy and completely without historical parallel. The judge has issued a contempt arrest warrant. That is the standard procedure when a defendant defies judicial orders in court. They issue an arrest warrant. So Trump is now officially under arrest. He is an arrestee. He is effectively a fugitive from a contempt charge. And he simultaneously faces potential removal from office through the 25th Amendment. He simultaneously faces potential life imprisonment on the original obstruction charges. All of this converges at once. This represents total governmental collapse. This represents the termination of constitutional order as we understood it. This represents the United States government in complete and absolute chaos. And it all materialized because the president could not control his own behavior in a courtroom. It all materialized because Trump chose to fight rather than accept the legal consequences advancing toward him. Let me guide you through precisely what occurred in that courtroom because this moment carries such historic weight and such profound significance that we must comprehend every single detail. The morning had already descended into chaos. Trump operated under the explicit threat of life imprisonment. A judge had warned him directly about the legal consequences he faced. Contempt charges were being accelerated through the system. But Trump believed he could battle his way through this crisis. Trump believed he could appear in court and defend himself and somehow reverse the momentum. Trump believed the rules did not apply to him, even inside a federal courtroom with a federal judge presiding. He was catastrophically incorrect. The hearing commences. It is the emergency contempt hearing that Judge Sullivan ordered. Prosecutors present evidence concerning the witness tampering allegations. They display documents. They introduce testimony from witnesses regarding the Bondi Memorandum redactions. They introduce evidence regarding payments made to Mar-a-Lago. They construct a case demonstrating that Trump issued direct orders to interfere with witnesses in a federal investigation. All of this evidence emerges in open court. And Trump observes this through a video feed from the White House. He occupies some space in the residence or the West Wing accompanied by his attorneys and advisors. He watches this evidence materialize. He listens to prosecutors assert that he obstructed justice. He listens to them declare that he tampered with witnesses. He listens to them present proof. And for the initial hours, Trump maintains silence. He follows the guidance his lawyers provided. Say nothing. Do not interrupt. Allow them to present their case, and we will address it subsequently. But after 3 hours of this, after 3 hours of watching evidence arrayed against him, after 3 hours of listening to prosecutors construct the case that he committed crimes, something ruptures inside Trump. He can no longer endure it. He cannot simply sit and listen. He cannot permit them to articulate all these allegations without responding. So he begins speaking. He begins yelling. He begins screaming at the judge through the video feed. He characterizes it as an illegal coup. He insists the judge exceeds his authority. He declares it a witch hunt. He articulates all the statements his supporters wish to hear. He insists he faces unfair treatment. He insists this constitutes political persecution. And he continues articulating these statements. He continues yelling. He refuses to cease. Judge Sullivan commands him to be quiet. Judge Sullivan instructs him that he must permit the hearing to continue. Judge Sullivan issues a direct order to Trump to terminate the interruptions, but Trump does not comply. Trump continues speaking. Trump continues yelling. Trump repeats illegal coup 7 times, 7 distinct iterations. He simply screams it at the judge. Illegal coup. Illegal coup. Illegal coup. Illegal coup. The entire courtroom observes this spectacle. The prosecutors observe this spectacle. The judge observes this spectacle. And Trump simply will not stop. Trump simply will not comply with the judicial order. This marks the moment when Judge Sullivan reaches his absolute limit. This marks the moment when the judge recognizes that Trump will not follow the rules of his courtroom. This marks the moment when the judge realizes he must take decisive action. So he issues the order. Remove the defendant. He is a clear and present danger. Now contemplate what that language actually signifies. The judge is not merely directing his removal from the courtroom. The judge is declaring him a clear and present danger. That is language typically reserved for national security contexts. That is language deployed when someone constitutes an immediate threat to other persons or to the system itself. The judge is stating that Trump is a threat. Trump is a danger, and he requires immediate removal. The marshals respond. They are trained for precisely this scenario. They understand their responsibilities. They commence movement toward Trump. Trump observes them approaching. Trump comprehends that he is about to be physically extracted from the courtroom against his will. Trump attempts to depart independently, but by that point, it is too late. The marshals take hold of him. They grasp his arms and they physically remove him from the room. The entire sequence is broadcast live. Millions observe the president being dragged from a federal courtroom. Millions observe him screaming as he is extracted. Millions observe his attorneys attempting to intervene. Millions observe the complete collapse of presidential dignity and authority. This is a moment America has never witnessed. This is unprecedented. This is historic. And while this transpires, while Trump is being dragged from the courtroom, Congress executes something equally historic. The House votes on advancing the 25th Amendment invocation. 288 representatives vote in favor. That constitutes a supermajority. That provides sufficient support to advance the removal process. That signifies Congress officially declaring its belief that the president should be removed from office for unfitness to serve. Contemplate that timing. Contemplate the symbolism embedded in that timing. At the exact instant Trump is physically extracted from a federal courtroom, at that precise instant, Congress votes to remove him from office through the 25th Amendment. It appears as though the entire system moves in synchronized rejection of Trump. It appears as though the entire government declares simultaneously that Trump is no longer fit to serve as president. Meanwhile, J.D. Vance convenes with Republican leadership. Vance serves as vice president. Vance would assume the presidency if Trump is removed through the 25th Amendment. Vance is the individual who must support the invocation for it to succeed. And Vance appears willing to proceed. Vance participates in meetings at this moment discussing how to execute this removal. Vance coordinates with cabinet members to secure the votes required to remove Trump. The judge has additionally issued a contempt arrest warrant. That is an authentic legal instrument deployed when someone defies a court order. Trump now stands under arrest for contempt of court. He functions as a fugitive from that arrest warrant. If located, if marshals find him, they may take him into custody. He may be held without bail. He may be detained indefinitely until he complies with court orders or until prosecution and conviction occur. So Trump now confronts multiple simultaneous crises. He confronts contempt of court charges. He confronts obstruction of justice charges. He confronts potential life imprisonment on the original allegations. He confronts removal from office through the 25th Amendment. He confronts active arrest warrants. He confronts the complete disintegration of his presidency and his freedom concurrently. The evidence prosecutors presented in that courtroom was apparently extraordinarily damaging. They cited the Bondi Memorandum. The Attorney General ordered redactions of specific documents, and prosecutors assert those redactions prove Trump ordered the cover-up. They cited testimony from Kash Patel and indicated his testimony was contradicted by documentary evidence. They presented information regarding payments made to Mar-a-Lago that aligned with the timeline of witness tampering. They constructed a comprehensive case demonstrating Trump's direct involvement in obstruction. And when Trump observed that evidence being presented, when Trump heard prosecutors declare he committed crimes, something inside him snapped completely. He could no longer exercise self-control. He could not adhere to his lawyer's advice to maintain silence. He felt compelled to fight back. And that decision to fight back led directly to his physical removal from the courtroom. That decision led directly to the House vote advancing his removal from office. That decision led directly to marshals being mobilized to arrest him. Let me distill this into what actually carries significance at this moment, because several critical developments are unfolding simultaneously, and each carries enormous implications for what approaches next. First, examine the legal reality Trump now confronts. He no longer faces theoretical charges. He no longer occupies a situation where he can debate whether his conduct was wrongful. He now faces active arrest warrants. He faces contempt of court charges. He faces obstruction of justice charges. And he faces potential life imprisonment. Judge Sullivan communicated with absolute clarity that life in prison represents a genuine possibility if Trump faces conviction. The judge declared him a clear and present danger, which constitutes extraordinary language for a judge to employ regarding a sitting president. The contempt charge alone carries serious weight. Contempt of court occurs when someone defies a judge's direct order. When Trump continued yelling in the courtroom after the judge commanded him to cease, that constituted contempt. That is a criminal offense. That can result in imprisonment. And the judge issued an arrest warrant for contempt. Therefore, if Trump is located, he may be taken into custody immediately. Prosecutors now move with exceptional velocity on the obstruction charges. They have presented evidence demonstrating Trump issued direct orders to interfere with witnesses. They have connected those orders to payments and cover-ups orchestrated by Bondi and Patel. They have constructed a comprehensive case and they advance aggressively. The subsequent phase involves trial where all evidence receives presentation to a jury, and if Trump faces conviction, the judge has communicated unmistakably that life imprisonment represents the anticipated outcome. Examine the political reality. Congress has now voted. 288 representatives voted to advance the 25th Amendment invocation. That constitutes a supermajority. That signifies Congress officially believes Trump should be removed from office. That represents a historic moment. That is the House of Representatives declaring they do not consider Trump fit to serve as president any longer. Now the process transfers to the cabinet. J.D. Vance must secure a cabinet vote. He requires the vice president and the cabinet to officially declare Trump unfit. If Vance secures the necessary votes, Trump faces immediate removal from office. Vance assumes the presidency. It concludes. It happens rapidly. It occurs without trial. It occurs based on a simple majority vote from the cabinet. The timing carries absolute critical importance. This vote could materialize tonight. It could materialize within hours. Vance meets with Republican cabinet members at this moment. Vance presumably advances the argument that Trump requires removal. Vance likely references what just transpired in the courtroom as evidence of Trump's unfitness. Vance likely states that the president just experienced a meltdown before millions and was physically dragged out by marshals. Vance likely states that this exemplifies what an unfit president resembles. Will Vance succeed in securing the votes? Certainty remains impossible, but likelihood appears substantial. Cabinet members experience genuine terror at this moment. They experience terror because continued loyalty to Trump potentially exposes them to liability for obstruction and witness tampering. If they assisted in covering up crimes, if they possessed knowledge and failed to report it, they could confront criminal charges as well. Therefore, they possess powerful incentive to vote for Trump's removal. They possess powerful incentive to separate themselves from him as rapidly as possible. Examine what Trump's ejection from the courtroom signifies symbolically. It signifies that no individual stands above the law. It signifies that even a sitting president must obey a judge's orders. It signifies that defying courts carries genuine consequences. It signifies that the system retains functionality even when the president behaves like a tyrant. The marshals removed Trump from the courtroom because he refused to obey judicial orders. They performed their duty. The judge performed his duty. The system functioned. But it simultaneously signifies we have entered uncharted territory. We have never experienced a sitting president ejected from a courtroom previously. We have never experienced a president confronting arrest warrants previously. We have never experienced Congress voting to remove a president from office while he simultaneously faces criminal prosecution. This is unprecedented. This represents the category of event historians document in books. Examine what approaches in the immediate future. The arrest warrant remains active. Trump now functions as a fugitive from that warrant. Technically, if he attempts to exit the White House, if he attempts to travel anywhere, marshals could take him into custody. He essentially resides under house arrest without formal house arrest designation. He remains trapped within the White House, or at minimum faces enormous risk of arrest upon departure. The cabinet vote on the 25th Amendment likely occurs tonight or tomorrow morning at the latest. If that vote succeeds, if they secure the required cabinet members to vote for removal, Trump is out. Vance is in. The process concludes. Transition occurs immediately. Military receives new leadership. Intelligence agencies receive new leadership. The entire executive branch shifts orientation. Then arrives the criminal trial. Trump will face prosecution for obstruction and witness tampering. The evidence carries substantial weight. Prosecutors possess documents and testimony and financial records. They possess a clear case. Trump will face trial. And if convicted, he confronts life imprisonment. Examine the cascade effects radiating from this event. Financial markets experience extreme volatility at this moment. Global allies freeze their operational planning. No one comprehends what will materialize next. No one knows whether Vance will continue Trump's policies or reverse them. No one knows whether chaos will consume the military or intelligence community. Everyone exists in uncertainty. Everyone experiences genuine fear. But ultimately, what Trump's ejection from the courtroom demonstrates is that the system retains functionality. The judge performed his duty. The marshals performed their duty. Congress performs its duty. The system continues operating. Even as the president disintegrates, the system maintains integrity. Even as Trump collapses, the institutions hold firm. This is what occurs when a president attempts to function as a dictator and governmental institutions respond with refusal. This is what occurs when a president defies a judge and marshals enforce court orders. This is what occurs when a president refuses to follow law and Congress votes for removal. So what approaches next? We await the cabinet vote. We await determination whether Vance secures sufficient votes to remove Trump through the 25th Amendment. We await observation whether Trump attempts flight or remains within the White House. We await observation whether military or Secret Service personnel take unusual action. We await formal filing of criminal charges. We await Trump's arrest, probably. We await commencement of trial. We await determination whether a jury convicts him. This represents a historic moment. This represents the moment when a presidency terminates, not through election, but through judicial refusal and legislative refusal and the refusal of those surrounding the president. This represents the moment when rule of law prevails over rule of one individual. This represents the moment when America demonstrates that no person stands above the law, not even a president. This story moves at absolutely insane velocity right now. New developments materialize by the minute. Constitutional history is being manufactured in real time, and you will not wish to miss a single second of what approaches next.